Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope everybody's doing great today. So we are going to turn up the blanks that we made last week. So we were using some of the new colors that I kind of created. A couple of them, if they turn out good, might be in the first round of the new pigment colors. So that's going pretty good. Let's see here, anything else? So what I'm going to do today is I just decided to go for a couple of like the Sierra length. What I have is a Sirocco pen blank or pen kit. It's a Sierra Wall Street Gatsby variant. It's made by Beaufort Ink, so pretty cool. I got a link to this kit, and there's a few different platings and all that kind of stuff in the description. But here's our blanks. So if you remember, we did a couple different things. So in these guys, excuse me, we went for Burgundy and the Navy Blue and added some gold. They're very rich. To be honest, they're a little bit dark. Mixing the Burgundy with the Navy Blue might have been a little bit much on the kind of dull, darker side. But let's see, either way, it'll give us a good idea of what the colors look like. Perhaps with different colors, these two may look better, just to kind of warn you. And then on this one, we did colors that we already know, the coral and the robin egg. And then we added, I think it's just black. And then, but with this, we kind of experimented with putting other things with the pigments. So, obviously the liquid pigments, the opaque ones, they make a great color. Obviously, they're good. However, you can play around with them. You can add other stuff. You can mix mica powders. You can add glitters. Results are going to vary a little bit depending on how much of the pigment you put in the liquid pigment compared to how much mica powder and all that stuff. But the good news is, with clear resins, typically, unless you put way too much pigment in, you can add just a little bit of pearl effect. You can add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm excited to see how these turn out. Now, a couple other things that we did last week on that the first batch was the robin egg and coral. We tried a couple different things with the like stirring methods. One of the things we did was we used the little stick that Myra gave me. And this thing was a huge paddle, and it really mixed up the pigments. So I don't know exactly what the results are. Now the problem that I have with doing, we had like, what did we pour these in? I think we went with the P-Town molds, the 6 of them. And so we did 2, 2, and 2. The problem is, by the time a couple days go around and I'm demolding them and shooting them out, I forget which ones are which, but I did turn a couple. I was looking at them and I tried to figure out which ones were which. And I think that I got a sample representation of each one. I think we might have done no stir on one of them. We used like the regular stir stick on one, and then we used the big paddle on basically two blanks. So I have a couple that I turned back, and I'll show you those at the end, and we can kind of compare to the one that I turned today. But a lot of different experiments. It's kind of fun to play around with different things. When you're casting, there's so many different ways. You can use the same resin, the same colors, all that kind of stuff. And depending on how you pour it, when you pour it, if you use a stir stick and which one and all that kind of stuff, you can kind of get different results. So it's kind of fun to experiment. The problem is, if you don't keep everything separate, then you don't know exactly which one was which, and then you got to turn all of them or something, and it's kind of crazy. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing good today. Sorry about the late posting of this stream. Totally thought that I did it yesterday, and I guess that I didn't actually set it up on YouTube, and so we kind of had to start a little bit late today. I was ready, but the stream wasn't set up. So let's see who got here first. Vinny's here first, and Jennifer, and Mr. Gold is in the house, and Tim Olson. And I saw Tim was asking about tool stops, or roll stops. And I have a little bit of input on that myself. You kind of mentioned it, like the earring thing. There's different things. Like, I think that there are some people that sell roll stops, and I actually think there are some people that for a slightly different take on it. A lot of us think of like mounting it, you know, like gluing it in like an earring or something like that. That's one way of doing it. Another way that I think that I've seen other people, and this is kind of interesting because it mixes a couple different types of crafts people, you know, pen making. But there's people that do like the wire jewelry, and they can like wrap, you know, like create kind of a thing that wraps around the pen or the cap. So it's not entirely, it doesn't have to be mounted. It just kind of wraps around, holds on there, and it's a roll stop, and you can create kind of interesting stuff. So if that's something that you might be interested in actually trying your hand at, that kind of wire jewelry crafting, it's not that hard. It's pretty cheap to try out, so you can kind of play around with that. Or I do think there are people that make roll stops for pens that are like that, and they, like I said, kind of sort of just slide over the cap. I don't know how well that works. You know, there's different sizes and all that stuff of pen caps, but that might be a different way to go. I've got a couple examples of things that I've used. I really, you know, it's nice to be able to just make the 3-piece pens for the kitless ones where, you know, you're not going for caps and all the, or like the clips and all the different stuff on them. That starts to get a little bit more, you know, if you're just starting out, the 3-piece pen is great, but the problem is they roll off tables. So like the roll stop thing is really easy you just drill a hole in the cap, and then you can glue anything in there basically, and it stops it from rolling. So let's see who else is here. Darren's here, and Mark L is in the house. Barb's here. Lilia, nice. Let's see here. Anybody else? I might be missing. David Bingham. I think I got everybody. Apologize if I missed you. I was just kind of scrolling. So let me go grab some things that I use for roll stops. I got a bunch of different things. For my mermaid pens, I bought a bunch of different things. Well, actually, I made one of the beach theme pens for Gretchen. Excuse me. Kind of like this. This was just kind of an experiment, but where you have kind of like a sand color and then like the kind of different colors of the water. So I made one like this. Does this have a nib in it? Okay. And what I did was I put a turtle on it, which was pretty cool. And I'm trying to think like just pins are another thing. I'm trying to think of what we search for. I was actually talking to Chad about this. You can search on Etsy for these. I think I got a lot of this stuff on Etsy. Thumbtacks. Like tacks. That's another thing, that there's lots of different tacks out there. So let me pull out a couple different things here. And I'll show you what I have done in the past. There's lots of these little things. The biggest thing is, you know, what is your search term? If you put the right search term in, oh come on, where's the turtle? Then you can find a wealth of different options. But earrings is an easy one also. So let's go to the overhead. So this is what I put on that beach pen. There's a turtle. So the thing is, like, this is gigantic and it's a little bit ridiculous. You know, like you're not going to put this in a pen sleeve very easily. Let me get on the camera. But it was like super cool. So, and it has meaning to us in our wedding. I also found these little doohickeys, little starfishes. Again, these are pretty big. That may not be the way that, and I didn't use these yet, but this may not be the way you want to go. On a simpler note, I just gave my nephew a pen for his birthday, and I just used one of these little, it's basically like an earring. They're like studs. Just a little round one. That's an easy way to go. One of the coolest ones that let's see if I even have any more of these left. I don't know if I have any more left. I found some that are, maybe it's in one of these things. They were like similar to these round things, but they were bars. It was just a straight bar. That was like by far the coolest. It really looks good on pens. Let's see if I can open this thing. Those are turtles also. Yeah, those are like dolphins or something. But so I think I found these things, thoughtful thumbtacks. Like I said, there's a lot of these types of things on Etsy, thumbtack things that I found. Let me see, where's the, I had, these are super tiny. I don't even know if these will show up on the, I had longer ones. I don't know if that'll kind of show up, but this bar idea was like by far the best. Looks, and it worked well. But it was probably at least like twice as long as this. This is like a 1/4 inch or something like that. And again, it was just kind of like an earring type thing that I found somewhere. I found a lot of this stuff on Etsy. Amazon for like earrings and like, I think stud earrings or something like that. I looked up. So there's lots of different ways to go. And they're super simple. All you do is just drill a small hole. If you want to get crazy, you can go find like the super tiny drill bits, but a 1/16, most of us, if you have like a little drill set, usually you can find a 1/16. It's usually bigger than what you need. Oh, whoops, I forgot to put the turtle away. But it works fine because you're going to glue it in anyway, and I just use like a, well, I'll actually pull out what I've used in the past. There's lots of different ways. This is a good CA glue type thing. You could use epoxy, I think, but it's pretty thick. And it may be a little bit harder to kind of get it in a really small hole. Starbond makes this medium thick. You could just go with a thick one, but the nice thing about Starbond is they have these little tips, and this is perfect for just putting a tiny little drop in that hole, and you're good to go. But I've had good luck with this medium thick. It's thick enough, but it's still kind of thin, so you can put like a small, very small amount. That would be maybe the difference between like the just like thick, the gap filling thick one, is you may get kind of a bigger blob than you want. But it definitely, the thick is not going to move. This medium thick is a little bit on the thinner side, so you got to be a little careful. But if you use the little tiny tip thing, it works really well. The hardest part is drilling that hole. You got to figure out a way to like hold it and do all that stuff. Pretty much I just put the pen in like a clamp. You could maybe just leave it on the lathe if you think ahead. A lot of times I don't really think ahead, and I'm like, I'm not sure what I want to do. So I'll have the pen, and then it's off the lathe. Now you could, I guess, just mount it on the lathe, on the mandrel, and that's an easy way for it to just be held in place, and then just grab a drill, just a hand drill thing, and it works fine. So hopefully that helps. I don't know, share some, because I was like, I don't even know how this works, what to do, but it's as easy as drill a hole and glue a thing in. Now, the one thing is a lot of those things have a pretty long post, so you're gonna have to like clip that off, maybe even use like a Dremel to like cut it off, possibly if you don't have like a hard enough, strong enough like nipper kind of tool, but they work pretty good. All right, so let's go turn a pen. So what I'm going to do is I have one pen kit. We're going to pick the best one out of these two that we like and see what happens. But we're going to head over to the lathe. That's not the right picture. Wurzel's in the house. Kevin Kronwitter's here too. People are just sneaking in the back door, and Harold's here too. What's up? Cool. All right, let's head over to the lathe. So like I said, again, these are like basically a Sierra kit. So we just got our Sierra TBC bushings ready to rock here. Get that thing going, that's good. With the dust, I even filled my water cup already, guys. How about that? Oh, so we got fresh water. All right, let's try this coral and robin egg first. Now, I guess I didn't really mention what we did with this. So we added some different things in here. What's going on here? Oh, I'm hitting my tool rest. In the, let's see, in the robin's egg, we added the, what is it called? The Galactic Ghost Gold. So that's an eye candy product. It's a little bit glittery, like kind of like the 14 karat nugget. It's kind of like, it's not really like a pearl powder. It's more like a glitter, in a little bit bigger chunks. So we added that to the robin egg. And then in the coral, we added that shimmer pearl. That's a product that I got from my supplier. It's a little bit interesting. It's almost like a hybrid glitter slash pearl. Like it's almost like it has both in there. It's kind of different than just a normal, you know, mica powder that you would get. And it's also not just a glitter. So it's kind of, I mean, shimmery and pearly, you know, I don't know. It does have some spec. The idea is it's supposed to make these pigments a little bit more like a metallic look. I haven't like figured them out totally, that stuff out. It may be something that I can just flat add to the pigment itself. So I'm not sure which direction I would want to go with that product if I do start using it. But it does create kind of a metallic color or a metallic looking effect. I don't know if it's like 100% perfect, but it'll kind of get you there. Now, do you have to use that? No, you could use something else. But like I said, it is kind of it seems like it's a slightly unique product. It's not something that I've really seen in just most of the, you know, the mica powder companies. It's a little bit different. All right, so let's get the lathe going. I gotta get my phone out. Watch live now, yeah, that's what I want to do. Get you guys up on the chat there. Okay. And I got my easy wood tool with my round cutter. Make sure that we're on the right camera and everything. Looking pretty awesome. That looks like a geode or something almost, the way I don't know. The tough thing is I don't know which stir stick we use for this blank necessarily. I think it might be just the regular one, but I'm not 100% sure. So we're sneaking up on those bushings now. Closer and closer. think we're pretty close there. Yeah, but I think that I switched to, I only did 2 of the blanks with the paddle because I was getting a little bit worried. It was really moving a lot of the resin, so I think I went to, I might have to quickly double check, but I'm pretty sure that I think I did no stir on 2 of the blanks, regular stick on 2, and then paddle on 2 in that 6 blank thing. So I think that's what happened. A little bit of it's protruding a little bit on this end. I'm just gonna touch that up real quick. I think part of the problem is it's kind of humped. Got a little bit of a bump there. I think that'll help out a little bit. I don't know. Looks pretty good to me, I think. Alright, let's turn this dust collector off. It's just obnoxious. In fact, we're going to turn another pen. What I'm going to do is actually crack. Kind of helps with the noise to crack other vents in the system to kind of just reduce the volume a minute. Where did I put the... Oh, shoot. I didn't bring the... I refilled the cup. I didn't bring it back here, though. Huh. I'll be right back. It's up front. I think. There it is. Right where I left it. And I don't know what I did to my knee yesterday, but it doesn't like me. I went for a walk, everything was fine. I didn't do anything crazy. And I think I kind of twisted my knee when I was like kind of getting in the truck to come to work, and I think I did something to it. So it's like, it's not loving me right now, but not too bad. I definitely didn't really feel like walking all the way to the front of the shop an extra time, you know? So what's everybody got going on in their shop? Anybody doing anything fun? Anything new? Yeah, and the second pour, which, you know, the Burgundy and Navy Blue, we used only the regular stick, the kind of bent, I call it my regular, the regular stick. I got a bunch of different ones at this point. But the regular stick, I always kind of keep going back to it. There are a couple of blanks that I sell that I don't really want it super mixed up. I've kind of found that if you just have like a straight stick, no bend or anything, you can kind of just pull the resin up. So you're instead of trying to create kind of like, you know, more interconnected color mix in like a round pattern, it's more just kind of stretching the colors, you know, along the length of the blank, and that works for certain things. I just kind of like it better, the look of it, and then the regular stick is pretty much still my go-to for. Still seems like it really kind of produces the best. Now, the one thing that I'm going to be playing around with, I've got a few like weird like little bends and kinks in the bottom of that. And I can kind of show you guys in a second here. I'm not sure that that's entirely necessary. So I'm kind of playing around with just like a straight stick with a hook at the end. See if there's really a whole lot of difference between having all those little extra bends, because it just makes it a little bit more difficult to make them. And if it's not really doing anything, then let's see. So what do we got here? David's back on the lathe. Nice. Diamond art. Oh, one of like the diamond painting stuff. Those things are really cool. Now everybody wants one, I know. I gave a fountain pen to my nephew. He turned 9, I think, 9. And I was like, and he came out to the shop one day and saw all the craziness that's going on out here. And I was showing him, you know, some of the things that I make. And he was like, oh, those fountain pens are kind of cool. So my sister's like, yeah, he does he likes writing and stuff. So I was like, okay, that's an easy birthday gift. And so I gave him that. And if, you know, compared to like the radio controlled drones and all the other stuff he got for his birthday, like the fountain pen was not the hit of the party necessarily. But I kind of figured like that would be a good gift. Like he'll probably use it and enjoy it, possibly even more than some of those other flashy toys down, you know, for like longer. So I wasn't expecting any kind of super amazing reception for that gift. But I was kind of showing him how to, like, you know, load the ink and all that kind of stuff. And especially my sister was watching, and then she does journaling. So she's like, hey, you know, I would like to buy a pen, a fountain pen. That's really cool. So it's interesting when you make something for someone, a lot of times everyone's like, whoa, I'll have one of those as well. What else? We got, yeah, the black. I don't know who picked the black, but that was definitely a good call. Somebody suggested that. I think white would have just kind of made, again, kind of similar to the other pen. There were so many like kind of rich, darker colors that I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit kind of, there's just not enough contrast in it. White might have been a better option for that one. Even just the burgundy and blue, you know, dark blue together might be a little bit much. We'll have to kind of see. I think it'll look good. I'm not worried about that. I think that unfortunately mixing those two colors are not going to accentuate them enough to really make that be like, oh yeah, that burgundy's great, you know, or that navy blue is the color I gotta have. So I think I'll have to kind of play around with those. Burgundy's totally new to me. That navy blue I've used in a lot, and it's a good color. I've used it for a lot of different stuff, so something like it anyway. So I know that one's a good color if you need a navy blue, but okay, I think that's probably good. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of the lengthwise thing. I don't know if I did that with the silicon carbide or not. Okay, and then we'll go with the gray. Oh, I think I sped that up a little bit. Let's see here. Just getting the first cuts with the new CNC going, man. CNC Master. That's cool. I'm at the 2nd grade level. Yeah, I had the X-Carve, I think it was called. They sent one to me. Like when they first launched, they sent like an X-Carve to anybody that had a YouTube channel that might possibly use it. And I played around with it. It was so, I don't know. It required a lot of messing with. Like you couldn't just set it and forget it to repeat things. Like it just, that was the first iteration of that thing. And it was definitely a, you know, not prosumer. It was for the novice. And I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of things that I needed to do with it, so I couldn't keep up on it. I ended up giving it to a buddy who used it really well. He made all kinds of stuff, so it was a good thing to get, you know, give somebody else because they got good life out of it. But I don't even think that, I'm not sure how much low. I was like at an infant level, maybe, I guess. If you're at a second grade level, I was an infant with that thing. All right, so we'll go over, let's see here. I hope I have enough magic juice. I had to order some, and it didn't come yet. So hopefully I have enough. It's weird, I tend to go through more in certain colors, it seems like. I do have some, I have an older set, so maybe the ones that I'm empty on now in the 2-ounce set, I can cover in the 1-ounce set. We'll see. All right, so I got to get my blue shop towels. Didn't even use them? That's terrible. He was like, you know, he was a little excited because like he showed interest when he was out here. Otherwise I wouldn't even have given it to him. And I know that he does, like, you know, he's a kid and he kind of, you know, he scribbles and draws, but he also kind of journals a little bit. I don't know if, you know, if you would call it like journaling the way that people talk about that today, you know, but he does some stuff in notebooks and things. So I think it'll be kind of fun. I think it's just an interesting thing to, I mean, I don't know. Fountain pens are so unique. I mean, really, I didn't know anything about them until I made one. I didn't even think about them, you know. So it's kind of an interesting thing to at least just expose someone to, whether they use it really or not. They kind of understand how they work. And it's just, you know, an interesting bit of knowledge. But I don't think he's just going to be like, whatever, not use it. That's never fun. You do something like that for somebody and you don't really appreciate it. You're like, well, that was a waste of my time. All right, so step 1. Again, I usually run my lathe around, I don't know, 1600, somewhere between 1500 and 2000, usually. I honestly don't even know what the like correct answer is for these products, but the problem is if it's going too fast, it tends to fling it. That's why I don't really go any faster, because I think the directions might even say like 2000 RPMs or. But I also don't really think that you need to be generating a lot of heat. This isn't like a friction polish. It's just polish. And if it's similar to car polish, like you definitely do not want to heat it up. It's actually the enemy of a good polish. So I tend to just kind of keep it on the lower end, not get too crazy with it. And it seems to work out pretty good. But basically what I'm saying is there may be better ways than even the way I do it, you know. Yeah, with my sister, she was like, I love the way this writes. And I was like, yeah, they're pretty nice. I like that you can kind of adjust things. I like that there's so many options for colors. I'm a little bit more like the kind of pragmatic type though. All the fiddling with fountain pens is not really my thing. I kind of like to just pick a pen up and write. I don't really do journaling and all that kind of stuff. So some of the aspects of the fountain pen thing I don't love necessarily, but I do use a fountain pen on like every order that comes in. I use one of my fountain pens for the like little thank you thing that I write in there. And I do enjoy that. that's the thing, is like for me, fountain pen usage would have to be like, I'd have to like really force it, kind of, because I don't really write a lot of stuff. I don't journal and all that. So it's a little bit more of a hassle if you just need to sign something, and then you can't like sign checks and do certain things. So like there are some aspects to the fountain pen thing that I'm like, eh. But I do enjoy, they're really cool. I like fountain pens. Using them, that's why for the notes, that was like the perfect thing. Like I do write those notes, and I do enjoy using the fountain pen to do that. So it worked out good. And I kind of find that a lot of the people that I've given fountain pens to also kind of, I think, have the same problem. You don't really use them because they don't journal, or, you know, they don't need to write, period, a lot of times. So sometimes it's a little bit hard. One good way to kind of get people going is people sell like journals that are like prompted journals, which I think that would be a cool thing to do. I would be willing to get into that possibly. That way you don't have to like kind of come up with, one of the problems with journaling is sometimes, you know, thinking of what you're going to do. And so those prompted journals are really kind of cool. Helps you think on paper. All right, let's see how this thing looks. I'm going to get the camera in front here, get a good view while we stop it and see what the results are. I'm pretty excited. I think this is going to look good. Here we go, the reveal. Ooh, that looks pretty good. I really like those colors together. And I like how it kind of, you know, we did kind of thin on the black, and I think that really helped. Now, I don't know, can you guys, I'm actually gonna take it off the lathe because I can get it to where there's no glare or like reflection thing. If I hold it up kind of vertically here. But I want to show you the effects that we added. That's kind of, you know, showcasing the colors was, you know, okay, here's what coral and here's what the robin egg look like. But kind of the point was to show like, okay, so we added that stuff. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus here a little bit and show you. So I'm not sure if it's coming up on the screen. It's hard for me to tell from my little viewfinder here. But I'm hoping that you guys can see the sparkle that's going on. There's like little gold flecks. That's the galactic ghost gold. And then when it comes to the coral, that's that shimmer pearl where there's like a little bit of shimmering going on, but it's kind of a metallic look. Now, like I said, I haven't totally cracked the code on what, like, you know, there may be like a certain amount that you really need to add. I think that you kind of want to add a lot, I guess pretty decent amount, but it'll kind of give you a little bit of a metallic effect. I'm not 100% sold that you know, it's like, oh, that's definitely like a metallic look, but it's got some shimmer and it's got some sparkle like a metallic color would look. So I kind of like that. One other thing is sometimes you put like galactic ghost gold in, you know, one color and then you've got two other colors. Sometimes the galactic ghost particles end up in like every color when you kind of stir it up. So some of the, using one only might produce a slightly different looking result. There's definitely a difference between the shimmery pearl stuff and the galactic ghost. The galactic ghosts are bigger chunks, like bigger glitters, and they're like a gold color. Man, I like that. That's nice. So far, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards we might have to mount that one on the pen kit because that thing's looking great. But you never know. Burgundy and Navy Blue may surprise me. It may just surprise me. Definitely seen sparkle. Nice, cool. Subtle. Yeah, it's subtle. And so that's the other thing. So one other thing I want to mention, again, I'm playing with that shimmer pearl. It may be something, if I can kind of crack the code on it and figure out like correct combinations, it may be something that I actually put in the liquid pigment itself. You know, like there's some football teams, like Notre Dame's got some gold. You know, it's tough because you can just use a pearl powder, right? But pearl powders tend to be, I don't know, not like a solid color. Whereas like if you're looking like the Notre Dame I don't know, Notre Dame might not be the greatest example. But there, you know, there's different like plastics that have that kind of metallic look, but it's not pearly, it's metallic. It's like a little bit different. And so it may be possible to create just pigments that are kind of like a metallic look. I mean, honestly, Divine Pigments had something like that. So I know it's possible. I'm just not sure, you know, how they made theirs or anything like that. So other than that, though, you can just dump it into the resin, right? So I don't know if you need to put it in the pigment itself or what, but I think that, you know, if you put a lot of it in, if I would have like really put a ton of this stuff in there, the coral it probably would wash it out a little bit. So like, that's what I'm saying is I think that there's probably kind of an amount, some sort of a ratio that tends to give you the best results, you know, and I think that if you vary the ratio, you can also just get slightly different results. So it's something I'm going to have to play with, and if I do crack the code, try and share that. In the past, you know, I've added like, you know, just like a white pearl, and that definitely, if you're going to add like a white pearl mica powder to any color, it's definitely going to lighten it. So I don't think the shimmer has it's really not like white. It's not like a pearl. That's kind of why I'm interested in it. I think it can kind of give you that like sparkly metallic look without completely washing it out. However, the more you put in there, the more it will affect the color, like the shade of the color a little bit, I think. So ratios, guys. It's all about the ratios. All right, so Burgundy and Navy Blue. I'm excited to see how this looks. Now, this is also an interesting thing. So, you know, we have yellow, gold, and we've got Navy Blue, right? That's kind of maybe not gold like this, but, you know, it is yellow with dark blue. You can get away with that combination if you're using, you know, gold mica powder, all right? So, but I always have issues trying to combine, you know, like a dark blue with like a yellow pigment. It typically is going to give you some green. And there are some areas that sort of have a little bit of a green tinge to them. What it is it's just, there's see-through areas. So like the more pigment and the more mica you can add to your cup, the better off you're going to be with keeping green streaks out of blue and, you know, gold or yellow, I think. But I think we did a really good job, and like I said, that's kind of the way to combat that. You know, throw a mica powder, and don't add yellow dye to the gold, because then you're going to bring that issue back most likely. So just going with a straight, because it's larger chunks of that yellow color, and it just doesn't tend to blend with the you know, blue pigment, liquid pigment as much. So just a couple little things there. Oh, the tool rest is in the way again. Okay. I don't know that I would go. The thing is, if you want that real metallic look, you might need to add. When I said that, it might be a matter of, there's like a little bit of a difference between the way I did it, where I put some pigment in, the liquid pigment, and then I put like, you know, whatever, a 1/8 teaspoon or whatever of the pearl stuff, the shimmer, in the cup of resin. So if you think about it, that if you take out the resin part of that, Oh, I was going to show you guys something. What was I going to show you? I'm over here real quick while I'm talking about this. So I guess when I said that, it's a little bit more like thinking, because I'm also thinking about adding it to the pigment itself. You'd probably have to add a lot to the, like, volume wise of that shimmer stuff to the liquid pigment itself. It's a little bit different adding it into a cup of resin, though. If you think about it, if you got rid of the resin out of that equation, I don't know how much I put, an 1/8 teaspoon. Yeah, so we put an 1/8 teaspoon into the, if you factor that into the amount of pigment that I used, because that's another way to do it. Instead of having to separately scoop an 1/8 teaspoon into your cup, you could figure out a ratio of how much of the shimmer stuff to put into the pigment itself. And that's a lot. Like an 1/8 compared to, what do we put? An 1/8 teaspoon per gram. So that's a weight measurement, but per gram of that pigment, that's quite a bit when you look at that ratio. But an 1/8 in a cup of resin, that's not that much. So it's, I don't know. I don't even know what to think about it or how to think. What was I going to show you guys? I was going to show you something. I think I was going to show you something. I guess not. I don't know. I can't think of it. If anybody thinks of what I was going to show you, let me know. Let's go back to the lathe. Corn cob pen. That's cool. Neat. Oh, thanks, Randy. Yeah, I like that, the coral. That was actually, well, like a Tiffany bluish, quote unquote, robin egg. That was one of the first colors, obviously, that I came out with, and that's always a color that I like. It's always on my mind. But the coral, I think that was the first color that I'm like, you know what I want to make? I want to come up with that, and it had nothing to do with any of the team colors or anything like that. It was just like, I want to make that sounds like a really cool color that I've really never seen anybody offer. So I'm excited that you like it. That's cool. All right, so let's try this. Is this thing set up right? Yeah, okay. Ooh, a honeybee pen. That's really cool. Alright, so let's kind of see what's happening here a little bit. Zoom in. Ooh, that's looking nice. It is looking rich. I'm not even really angry at the darkerness of this. I think when we polish it up, it'll really pop. Definitely not seeing any green on the edges, you know, where the blue and the gold meet. And I wasn't expecting that. Usually you don't really get that. Where you could get that still, like I said, it's kind of a matter of if you're gonna mix blue with the yellow, like mica powder, definitely load up your mica. What can happen is, and this is really kind of more the case, like I wouldn't even say that the liquid pigments bleed, like really bleed, unless you poured them like right away after you mix them up. If you wait for a reasonable temperature and pour them, they're really almost not even bleeding together. What's happening is the layering. If you get thin areas, you know, these colors are not totally opaque. You know, small amounts are going to be transparent. And so if you've got just very small amounts layered, that's what ends up happening is you see green because they're layered on top of each other. Oftentimes it's not even really a bleed, but that can also happen if you don't put enough mica powder in because it's kind of thin. And that blue can kind of peek through. So, you know, you don't have to go overboard, but you don't want to go light on it, you know. You want to make sure that you're, you know, checking the stick and seeing the transparency before you pour it. Okay, let's see how we're looking on the bushings there. Looking good there. Got a lot of tool marks on this thing. Whew. See if we can't fix that a little bit. Yeah, not bad. Might be a little bit off balance or something. I'm pretty sure that the 600 grit will take all that stuff out. All right, so let's get some wet sanding going. Can't wait to see this polished up. When you're polishing darker colors, not a bad idea to just make sure that you're giving it enough time. If you don't get all the scratches out, it can kind of end up not being as bright and kind of dull those darker colors. So this is definitely a pen that I want to make sure that we get, you know, a good polish on it. No, you know, minimize the scratches as much as possible so you can get it as bright as it can be. If you've got scratches in there, then the light scatters kind of funny, and it just like that color doesn't reach your eyeball. All the color, kind of. I don't know if that's exactly the correct way to think about it, but you know, it's kind of the idea. It's just the light's not getting to your eyeball. It's being deflected a different direction, so it just doesn't look as bright. So this is definitely a time where you want to take your time. And I mean, usually on darker stuff, especially black blanks, I don't know if anybody that's tried to polish a black thing, I mean, they're just, you'll see every scratch anyway. Like, it'll be obvious, or like I said, it'll just look dull at the end, and you'll know, like, okay, I got to go back. Tough part is like how far back, you know, do you start sanding? But there's deeper scratches than you want in there. You got to get those things out. Welsh Piper's in the house. Luckily, it's not too hard to get things polished up nicely with between the Zona paper and the Magic Juice. I mean, it's just a little bit of time involved. I can't remember if I sanded lengthwise again with the 600. We'll do it with the green. Got it good with the green. All right. We'll move on to the gray. Alive when you cast them. They got mad. Oh man. Torturing the scorpions. Scorpions are crazy, those things. I didn't realize it. I wasn't sure if we had them here where I am now, you know, northern Nevada. I had never seen one when I was a kid, but we moved to Vegas and there's a lot down there. Those things are just creepy. Ugh. Honestly, I didn't see that many though. I think they're pretty prevalent in some areas, but thank goodness I didn't see too many of them. Oh, yeah, I don't like snakes either. Surprisingly, for as much as we kind of messed around, you know, me and my friends, we'd be out kind of, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know if I ever saw one as a kid, which is really surprising because we would traipse around out in the wherever, you know, up in the mountains quite a bit, like a good amount. And we like I don't remember ever seeing a snake. Rattlesnakes are very prevalent here. Um, but I did see one on a hike a few years ago. It was just hanging out in the middle of the trail, sunning, and like if I and it startled me because like I was just, you know, walking, not really paying attention to anything, and then I kind of see this like line sitting there, and I was like, whoa, could have just totally stepped on the thing. And I couldn't tell if it was dead or not. Like it wasn't moving, it wasn't doing anything. I'm like moving around trying to see if it's like actually alive or if it was dead. So finally I threw some sand at it, then the rattle started. I was like, oh, hey buddy. Finally I got him to move. I was just in my own world there, walking along. Okay, so we got our magic juice going. Crank the speed up a little bit. Oh, snake grabber. Mounting a bold frontal assault on the house. He met a dropped brick. Yeah, I know. That's funny. We usually had our houses sprayed too. There's a couple though when I was in college where it wasn't a lot. I don't know. We didn't really have the money for spraying and all that stuff. Part of the problem is if you spray but your neighbors don't, then it's not really great usually. Cockroaches were like the worst. They were everywhere in Vegas, and that was a tough one. If your neighbors didn't do anything, it didn't really matter what you did to your house. So there was a couple houses where we saw a few scorpions, and there's lots of cockroaches. That was fun. All right, so we got the number 1 on there. Let's go for number 2. This number 2 is pretty thick. I guess I have more than I thought I did. I thought I was out on a couple of them. All right. And number 3. This thing's getting glossy, guys, right before my eyes. You can see it. All right, number 4. can see the mirror likeness. They're beneficial pests. Spiders, I could make, you know, you can make the argument for spiders. They're creepy too. I don't really love spiders, but I just wish they'd leave me alone. Like, they can hang out in my house if they would just eliminate other pests and quit bothering me, quit dropping on me, you know, while I'm sleeping. Personal space, spiders, come on. Stay in your corner, I'll stay in mine. All right, here we go. Let's see what these guys look like. This one's really interesting to me. I already knew what the coral looked like. And the robin egg. We knew what the robin egg looked like. We've done a pen with that, but this burgundy and navy blue, though, I'm pretty excited about. Hoping they're good. Still haven't fully settled on these yet, you know. If I come up with like, if I think of like, oh, we got to do this color, I might switch at the last minute. But as of right now, oh, that looks nice. Yeah, that's pretty good. What do you guys think of those colors? Let's get it off the lathe. I can get a slightly better, no glares. Let's get the bushings off of here. And I always like to just kind of clean off the insides there. Oh, that was a good one. Look at that one. Usually a little bit of that polish that kind of accumulates. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. That's a tough one. Still think I like the other colors better. We're going to do a quick poll. Hold tight. I'm just going to call one coral, one burgundy. We'll start the poll. We'll see which one you guys want to see on the pen. And we'll go to this overhead real quick. So again, the kit that we're using is this, just kind of like a, is it yeah, chrome and gunmetal. So I think it'll work with either. I like that a lot. And then this one. So I wanted to pick, it was kind of a neutral one. I figured it'd go, you know, good with either one. Let's see what you guys think. And in the meantime, I also wanted to share, I got my, I think they call this the Beast, my 12 blank casting molds. I got a couple of these guys. My game plan is, I think I'm going to use these. They're 5 3/8 deep. They're just a little bit, you know, like an 1/8 inch deeper than the 6 blank molds that we used before. But we get 12, and what I'm hoping is, I think I can make the team colors. We'll have to see, but I think I can make the team colors, and that's going to be nice. If I can make 12 blanks at a time, and everything works out, and I'm getting good results, you know, there's enough time and all that stuff, That's going to be pretty awesome. So just wanted to share that. They've got these guys at Turner's Warehouse in stock now if you guys want to pick one of these bad boys up. Other than there's a slight, like I said, they're slightly taller, like the cavities, 5 3/8 versus 5 1/4. I mean, we're not, we're kind of splitting hairs here a little bit, but what I'd like to try to do is try to get, a little larger than 5 inches out of these, but this is the 5 1/4 versus 5 3/8. Other than that, I mean, it's the same thing, it's just half a beast. I think Turner's Warehouse is out of these, but you can get them on P-Town Subby's website. I believe they're in stock there. But I do know that the 12 blank guys are available right now at Turner's Warehouse, which is awesome. So I haven't used one yet. And we'll probably be using those on the stream as well. That was another thing. When I'm doing if we're doing the tests, if it's something that I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know that I'm going to pull out a 12 blank mold and try and make 12 crappy blanks. But if it's something that I'm like, okay, this is just going to be like a cool color combination, probably pull that thing out and use it on the stream. That way I've got more for the pen blank club made right up front. Chrome and robin egg would look best. Yeah, I kind of like that. Gold. Oh, that's true. Gold kit. That's true. Oh yeah, I don't like the brown. Okay, so let's just get rid of the brown recluses. I don't like those guys. Oh, put some water in it. Huh. Yeah, the number 6 is very thin. And then I guess the only other kind of news, we're kind of talking about pigments here a little bit. So the label, I think, is pretty much, I think I got the design done. I need to order them still, but labels are done. Really, at this point, I need to just choose the last 2 colors that I'm going to launch at the beginning. And then the biggest thing is going to be the bottling. That's going to... and I think I've figured out a solution, a system to do this, but I haven't tested it yet. And that's kind of a messy thing. So I'm going to need to find, I think I'm probably covering myself head to toe with stuff, but I'm just worried that it may kind of get messy. So I want to kind of carve out a space where I can kind of maybe put some plastic down and stuff, and it's not going to be, if the worst case scenario happens, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but I mean, if this stuff, I don't know, if something goes crazy, I kind of want to keep it in an area and not be able to get it all over myself. That would be the worst. So bottling is kind of the final step, and then hopefully the pigments should launch soon, pretty quickly here, I think. Like I said, just the bottle. I already got my bottles, so I got my bottles. I just got to figure out the bottling, and I think we'll be good on that. Yeah, roll stop with your logo. That'd be pretty cool. And I think people, so, there are people that do like the like lost wax casting and stuff. Like you could have somebody make that kind of thing. I'm trying to think. I think there is somebody that does that type of thing for clips. And whoever, I don't know who it is. It's somebody in the pen making community, I think, or associated, like the fountain pen people. I don't know who it is, but I think there is somebody that if you wanted that done, you could have it done. Another thing for the little emblems, you can use, I was searching around the internet. You can have, like if you were doing an event, you can actually buy pins, like lapel pin type things, and have them made, like a design with full colors and whatever you want, like glossy covered and all that kind of stuff, like whatever you need. Somebody does it. Maybe somebody mentioned it in the stream. I don't know. You can have those things done though, and that would be a good way to get, and even like coins and like different things like that. People have these made, and there's places that will make them for you. So look at that if you're interested in those cap, the things that go in like the finials with like your logo or whatever. I think I'm going to redesign the kind of logo that I had in mind for my pen company stuff. I like what we did, what Chad did for me, but I'm like, I think that I could make something a little bit more exciting and a little bit more like recognizable is kind of my thing. So I'm still working on that, but let's see here. All right. So I think I'm hoping if you haven't voted, so, do you like the one with the navy and burgundy? So that's burgundy is the choice, or do you want the robin egg and coral and black? And that would be coral for your choice. And we'll just give it one more second here and then we'll close out the poll. Looks like burgundy's winning though. I'm surprised. All right, last call. All right, it's ended. So we're mounting the burgundy. Very close though, very close. All right, so let me go get my, so for all the Pen Blank Club folks, I think depending on what else we make this month, I'm probably going to do kind of like a half and half thing. It seems like these are both, people like them. I mean, we had a 60-40 split for which one to even mount. So that way it'll be kind of an interesting thing. You won't exactly know what you get, but we'll probably do like a half and half kind of thing as one of the blanks, and then we'll come up with something else. Or if for some reason I don't get another blank made on the stream, then it'll be like you'll get one of each of these things. So I'm going to actually put these away. I got to kind of clear space here so we can get the mounting or the assembly doohickey out. And I do have the other samples of the coral blanks that I turned. So that's another interesting thing is you won't exactly know which one you'll get if you get a coral, which one it is actually. All right, so let's get the assembling machine over here. Let's get this thing out of the way. A couple extra blanks there. So we'll do burgundy. Let's see. So that view, we'll zoom in. Get this thing kind of centered a little bit. Okay. Now this is a Sirocco. Like I said, I linked to these in the description already. So if you're interested in picking one up, if you like it. They got different platings. And there's a few different little components going on here. It's a little bit different than just like a straight up Sierra. It's more like a Gatsby. What you have is you have your transmission. It's going to feed in from the back of this clip. And it's threading into there. All right, so you can see threads. And then all you do is you just press the cap over the transmission. This presses onto there. And I'm not sure, I think I'm going to not assemble that with that. It's not always good to be pressing on something that's threaded. You could kind of screw up the threads. To be honest, I can't even think of one time where I've actually ruined something. But there are people that don't recommend that, probably from experience. So, doesn't matter. I think I like it like that. And then let's see where this thing needs to be bent back a little bit, it looks like. Yeah. I'm not sure if it really matters a whole lot. I think I want to get it to where I have a little bit of blue, a little bit of burgundy, and a little bit of gold on that front. Okay, we got that part in. The only thing is, you got to kind of watch this hammer can hit the clip. So that may be an argument to put the cap thing on first. I don't know. It's getting a little wily. I think I should have done this part first. I would recommend putting the tip on, pressing the tip first, probably, but we're good. Okay, and then just feed that thing in there. Screw that in. Let's just make sure everything's working properly. It's working good, and really I don't think you need to press this. I think you can just pop it on. That's looking pretty good, guys. I don't have very good lighting under here, so. But that is the thing about these kind of darker, you know, darker and slightly a little bit duller colors. You know, a little bit washed out. When you've got a lot of lights kind of hitting it and you've got a lot of reflections, that's another issue, is you can't see the colors as well sometimes. So just be aware of that for like the darker kind of colors. Things that have been a little bit more desaturated, that can happen. Now in sunlight, this thing's going to look amazing, but under certain lighting conditions, the darker colors, and this is just a general design, you know, when you're choosing colors or whatever you're going for, that can kind of happen with pen blanks. But man, that's looking pretty darn good. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that thing? Yeah, the Pen Blank Club is still sold out. The problem is there's only so many that I can make, you know, every month. So I've kind of limited it. The other issue is how many, the number has to do with like how many blanks am I making at a time. So it just kind of, if somebody steps down, a spot will open up. So that's what we're waiting for. Yeah, a little felt would be a good idea. I never thought about that. Maybe even like a little piece of cork might not be too bad. Oh, so before we go, so let's look at some differences. So we've got the blank here, which I really think this was like the regular stick. I mean, this definitely was stirred by something. Okay, so that we can did I write down a note? Real quick, I'm actually going to, because I really want to know what the answer to this is. I'm actually going to quickly go and look up, see if I can figure out what we did on that pour. It really matters, kind of. Let me see if I can find the video. Casting some new colors. The mute on. We did that one first. I'm just scrubbing through to see what I actually did with the stirring. It'll help us identify. Now, I'm not 100% sure that I chose one of each of those different types of things out of the ones that I did turn back. I turned 2 other ones, but I don't know for sure. I'm looking at it here. Okay, so definitely, you know, did the big spoon first. So we tried this guy out first, and I'm watching right now. And it just seemed like it was a giant mess going on in there. I got a little bit freaked out. And sorry, I got to kind of sit here and watch this. Okay, so I put this down. I did 2 of them with this, and then I pulled out, Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay, so it's not exactly what I thought. It was close to what I thought, but it's not exactly. Hold on, I'm just making sure I didn't, waiting for me to put it in the pressure. Okay. Okay, so here's what we did. So on the first, so on two of the, so we had a 6 blank, and you can go back and watch exactly what I did, but I just want to, for everybody that's here. So what we did was we had the mold like this. On the first two, I did this one and just kind of spun this and did this. Then I put this away, and what I pulled out actually was this one. It was one of those, just a straight stick with a hook. And I kind of just went down in and just kind of did this. Not on the first two. I think I actually did it on this end. But regardless, 2 of them, I kind of just did this with it. And that turned out pretty good, which that I think is what this is. I'm pretty sure this is the one that used this kind of, and this is a little bit thinner than my regular stick. It's on the thinner side. And you can see it kind of pulled things a little bit. There's a little bit of kind of like, mixing together, but I didn't like sit there and spin the thing. I wasn't doing it that way when I was pulling it out. I really just kind of went in there and just pulled. So it kind of just stretched out the colors that way. So I'm just trying to, I think this is kind of important stuff because it's hard to tell what, with the whole stirring thing, that can kind of get crazy. And I'm not an expert on it yet either, but, and then we've got a couple different ones. Now, I'm pretty sure, I want to say this one was probably no stir whatsoever because you can see it banding and doing all that kind of stuff. It was kind of blobby. We poured at a pretty high temperature. So that's what you can maybe expect. Things tend to blob a little bit more, especially when you get to the end at the top. A little bit of kind of little bleedy at the bottom, maybe, I don't know. So I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to guess, this would have been one of the ones that I didn't stir. And then this one, I don't know. It's tough. You can see there's quite a bit of bleed, or it's muddy, which is kind of what it looked like when I was pulling it out with that big stick, the spoon looking thing. So if I had to guess, that's why I was pretty sure, but I kind of lost track of where I pulled each blank out. But I think that that was what I was worried about, is that if you stir it up too much, it kind of can, this is starting to get muddy, kind of like a bleed kind of look. But we didn't even get anything on part of it, so it's kind of weird. I don't know. Anyway. And then we just used my regular stick, I'm pretty sure, which is like this, for the burgundy ones. And you can kind of see, that kind of mixes things up a little bit more. I mean, you're still not going to get it exactly like where it's pulling it around, but a little bit, right? It moves it kind of more a little bit horizontally as well as vertically when you're using something like this. Now the question that I have, and the way that I do it, is I'm literally spinning it as I go down and as I go up, all right, with this stick. The question that I have though is there really a difference between all this bumpiness going on in this stick and just something that's got a kind of a hook on the end that'll kind of do the same action like that? Is this making a difference or not? I'm not sure, because this gets a little bit harder to clean off, and I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but straight's a lot easier to make for sure. So I'll be kind of playing around with that. If I ever get answers, I'll share. It's tough though, because really to figure it out, you kind of have to really try to recreate conditions, because the way that you pour things can also affect how things work. Like if I poured this and did exactly the same thing, but I poured at like, what did we pour these at? I think we did like 105 or so, maybe 105. Like if I poured at like 95 and did all the same things with these sticks, it would be totally different. So, there's a lot that goes into that, and it's hard to really get answers, even doing kind of fairly rigorous tests, you know what I mean? So anyway, just to let you know, we'll revisit that down the road though. So anyway, let's see here. I think you just graduated to 3rd grade on the CNC. Nice. Yeah, have fun with that. That's pretty cool. So anyway, guys, pretty cool. So like I said, we'll have to see what the Pen Blank Club, how that works out, depending on what we do next week. I'm guessing that it'll probably be split up, where half of you will get one of those blanks, either the burgundy or the coral, and then you'll get another one that we do next week. I'm thinking maybe next week we can give these guys a shot, try it out. These are fun. Every time I do demos at Turner's Warehouse, I use these, so it's not like I've never used it before. These things are pretty awesome. Lots of blanks being made all at once. And of course, you got the Gatling molds. I'm not making those right now. I have so many things going on that it's just one other thing that I was like, I need to stop these. So in the meantime, though, you know, there's really no difference between, you know, besides the height of these, there's not any difference between the P-Town subby ones and mine. And frankly, the P-Town ones are a lot cheaper because they make more of them. And this is a lot less silicone than that thing is. So there's advantages, like I said. The main thing with the Gatling molds, why I brought them out is, you know, if you really want to have a 6-inch tall blank that you're pouring versus 5 1/4, you know, those are available. However, you know, if you really need tall blanks, P-Town makes these guys, you know, the 8-inch guys, so, or 8 1/2. So if you need longer ones, you can always do those types of things. So anyway, next week should be fun. I'll have to come up with, I'm not sure what we're doing next week. It should be an interesting one, hopefully, if I can come up with something fun to do. So anyway, I hope everybody has a really good rest of the day, you know. Get in the shop, do something fun if you can. And other than that, I guess I'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for joining the fun.